Naruto, Minato said, excited and happy at the sight of his newborn son. Shisui didn't need to be told twice as he quickly walked over to see his newly born cousin. Shisui smiled as he saw Naruto. He noticed that Naruto had jet black hair with a slight tone of a fiery red that streaked through like that of his mother, Kushina Uzumaki. Like every Uchiha, Naruto has black eyes but seemed blacker than any ever seen. He's one of a kind, uncle. Shisui exclaimed with joy seeing Naruto, resembling so much of Minato the fourth Hokage, with touches of Kushina. No Uchiha shared the same look of Naruto, as none shared both Uchiha and Uzumaki blood, nor did any ever have whisker marks on their cheeks. Naruto definitely fit Shisui's statement. He is truly one of a kind. That he is, Minato said with pride. He turned to Kushina. Here you go my love, he said as he leaned over handed their son to her to hold. Kushina was exhausted from just having given birth to Naruto, but holding her son brought out newfound energy as her expression changed to that of joy. She held him close as she looked on to Naruto while Minato held her in a hug as well. Hello there Nara, it's your mother talking to you, she said with a smile and sing-song tone. It was obvious that she was tired, but her want to be with her son outweighed that feeling. Minato was smiling wider than ever before. Shisui, come for a photo. You should be in it, he said with a waving gesture for his nephew to come. Shisui's parents had died during the war when he was 5. Minato took him in as they were the only ones left of their family. Naturally they developed a strong bond that was like father and son. Minato expressing that he wanted Shisui in the family photo showed him that he still held their bond even though his own true son has been born. It would be a lie if Shisui said he hadn't been worried that with Naruto's birth, he'd be pushed away and forgotten in a sense. Those worries were now cast out and in that place was happiness and belonging. Quickly he took his place within the middle of them, Kushina holding Naruto with Minato's left arm around her and his right hand on Shisui's right shoulder. All having large smiles with the exception of a half-sleeping Naruto. Uncle, I can't wait for him to get bigger. So many things we can do, Shisui said, excited for the possibilities and the future with them all together. Yes, but don't be so quick to look ahead, enjoy the moment. Don't take anything for granted or consider a moment insignificant in turn for another. Never know when it'll be gone. Maybe you would wish to return but at that point you won't be able. Minato said. Yeah, I guess you're right about that. Still though, as much as he's adorable as a baby, it will be so much more fun when he's bigger, Shisui said while wiggling his index finger around the hands of Naruto who was trying to catch it. Minato, I'd really like some rest. Take Naruto, Kushina said with a yawn after finishing as her tiredness caught up to her. They were in a hideout surrounded by seals and umbu. She was in a bed but was nowhere near as comfortable as their own home, but it would have to do. After all, the seal that holds the Kyuubi weakens during childbirth. Precautions had to be made. Only the people present along with the third Hokage knew of where and when this was taking place outside the village. The third Hokage was Minato's advisor and friend. His wife was the lead doctor during the procedure, and that is also how the third Hokage also knew. If the Kyuubi were to escape, everyone knew that no one man can defeat it. The seals surrounding the hideout and within the room were designed to hopefully hold the Kyuubi as well as constantly drain its chakra. It would be in a weakened state upon re-entering the physical world, so by constantly draining chakra from it, they hoped that it could never regain its power or recharge and potentially can reseal it within another host if they were unable to reseal it within Kushina for whatever reason. Although with a force as that of the Kyuubi, the most powerful tailed beast, everything was speculation in regards to if they could truly hold it back. The only man that had the power to truly hold it back was the Shodai Hokage. Madara doesn't really count as he couldn't truly hold it on his own. It is true that he could use genjutsu from his Sharingan to manipulate or even control the Kyuubi, but that wouldn't last. Hashirama could imprison the Kyuubi within his wood-style techniques, and that would in a sense be the end of that problem. He could do it to every tailed beast at once, however that's never been his intent and never sought them to control them. Minato being present also gave opportunity for him to reseal the Kyuubi. If not, he'd use his Sharingan to buy enough time for everyone to escape before he himself teleports Kushina, Naruto, Shisui, and himself back the village. His Sharingan wasn't as strong as Madara's, and currently no Uchiha had a Sharingan that could truly control the Kyuubi. Only 2 people had the potential to freeze it for a time being, but they themselves would have to stand still as well. They were Minato and Fugaku. Fugaku could control it for a short time due to his Manjikyo Sharingan, but that would drain him of nearly all his chakra and it would more or less be a death wish. Shisui showed great potential and is hailed as currently one of the strongest uchiha as he unlocked his Mangekyo just 3 years ago at age 7. The youngest ever to unlock it, and not only that but he's been a really gifted ninja to this point in terms of his abilities. A true master of the Shunshiin technique as the only ninja that can use it effective in battle. On top of that he's a master of fire techniques as he can do most with a single hand sign, and his mastery of genjutsu is currently second to none. Minato hasn't unlocked his Mangekyo and also doesn't use his Sharingan nearly as much as any of the Uchiha. He sees it as a tool to be used, but not depended on. Generally the Uchiha upon unlocking the Sharingan use it every chance they get and in every battle. That leads to someone being entirely dependent on the abilities granted by the Sharingan, and what was once a tool becomes a crutch. Minato gladly took Naruto from Kushina as he rested and on her and gave her a kiss to the forehead. He looked over to Shisui when they both felt an odd presence of someone that wasn't supposed to be there. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Minato stated with a glare to the masked man. He had an orange mask and wore a large cloak that hung baggy and hood was up. The only thing that they could tell was that he had a very malicious intent. Given that he was here, it was a safe bet the Umbu won't be responding as they were most likely dead or incapacitated. They stood still waiting for some attack, something to happen. Minato had to be careful as his wife was in no condition to fight or defend herself, plus he was holding his child. Without taking his eyes off the masked man he spoke. "Shisui, here, take Naruto. I can't risk anything here. I will be with you shortly." He handed Naruto to Shisui, but before he could say anything about wanting to help fight the man, Minato teleported him with Shisui to their house. Shisui now looked down to Naruto worried but knew that Minato was a very capable shinobi. He wasn't Hokage for no reason. All Shisui did was place Naruto down on a bed and remained by his side since there was no telling what the objective of the masked man was. Now that Naruto was with Shisui safe at his home, Minato felt more relaxed about the situation. However, his wife also still being here made him still be worried. Based on the fact that the masked man didn't seem to care that Naruto was gone led to the conclusion that he may be after the Kyuubi. With that being the case, now he stood between the man and Kushina, and took out one of his special kunao. "That jutsu won't help you in this, yondaime," the masked man said in a deep tone. Minato didn't really care to what he was saying as he was threatening the safety of those he loved. Without even a second wait, he hurled the kunao at the man who just stood there. The strange thing to Minato was that it just went right through. He knew this wasn't a clone and was indeed the man, so he teleported to the kunao and tried a slash at the man only to phase right through. This doesn't make sense. What is going on? Minato thought as the man became intangible during his attacks. The man laughed too easy and below the two of them the ground started to glow. This shocked Minato as his eyes widened, and just before the ground blew up from the explosive tags he teleported to a different location in the woods outside the hideout. When did he place those? How does that intangibility work and what is he planning? Minato thought as he stood up from the kneeling position he landed in and looked back to the hideout. The seals were gone and he saw the bodies of the Umbu. They weren't dead, but even if they awoke, they couldn't fight until a few days at least. What was worrying is that he could no longer feel the marker he had on Kushina. Normally he'd be able to sense it no matter where she was or how far. Even if she had died the marker would remain. Not knowing where she was made him all the more certain that this was the goal of the man. He wanted him separated from Kushina and most likely to get the Kyuubi set free. After a few minutes he could once again feel the seal he had on Kushina and teleported to it. He noticed a few things. The Kyuubi was set free and the eyes had a Sharingan pattern. On top of that it was about to kill Kushina and he grabbed her and shunshined to the top of some trees. "Fast as ever I see," the masked man commented before warping away. "Kushina, are you alright?" Minato said with worry all over his face. She looked paler and was extremely weakened. He knew she would die soon since any Jinchuriki that gets their tailed beast extracted normally dies instantly. Her being an Uzumaki is the only reason she still is alive currently, and if he could reseal the Kyuubi right away she could live since the chakra would heal her, but if too much time is taken and she is separated for too long then she'll die regardless. With all that considered, he teleported to their home and Shisui stood up seeing Minato's return carrying a pale and weakened Kushina. "Here, lay with Naruto, Kushina," Minato said, placing her down beside Naruto. He grabbed his vest and put on his Hokage cloak. "I'll be back shortly." Then he teleported to the Hokage monument overlooking the village. A few moments earlier, the masked man warped into existence just outside the village. Summoning jutsu, he said, and slammed his hand onto the ground, and in a large cloud of smoke appeared the Kyuubi. Destroy everything. The Kyuubi started charging a tailed beast bomb and shot it at the monument to then have a collateral effect of taking out the Hokage building and Intel HQ. However, just before it could hit, it hit a large seal and started being absorbed into it, then disappeared, and the explosion was far from the village but still heard, and the explosion visible in the distance. I've got a beaker full about where I send those, Minato stated, and turned around to see the masked man warping into existence. Instantly the man started warping Minato and was just about to send him into his dimension until there was a yellow flash and Minato was gone. He's faster than my Kamui. Minato landed in a flip and now laid on his back. Damn that ability of his, what is it? He can teleport without seals and apparently can send others away. Where would I have ended up? Minato was extremely confused, and the jutsu the man was showing made him worried all the more. First was intangibility, now transportation. Can the two be connected? As he was contemplating all he was learning, the masked man warped in front of him. You are truly fast, Yondaime. However, this is the end for you. The man now pulled out a chain and connected it to his wrists with it hanging behind him. Minato noticed that as he attacked, he would be intangible, which meant that he would go through, but then the chain would cut through him. So his intangibility won't allow him to attack. He must be tangible in order to attack. Still, that is an issue, as he can be indestructible until he chooses. Minato took out a kunao and they charged each other. Back at the village, Lord Third, the Kyuubi is attacking, an Umbu captain said to Hiruzen, who was already gearing up. Yes, I sense it. Go tell the uchiha to help evacuate the civilians, then have them join the fight, but not until everyone is safe. Get any ninja to fight, however have the younger generation put into a barrier. We cannot lose them to this, Hiruzen said as he finished preparing for the battle ahead. Hi! The three Umbu exclaimed and shunshined to do their duty. Hiruzen appeared at the village gates and was briefed on the situation by a jonin. We must hold the Kyuubi back until the Yondaime can come, Hiruzen shouted as he summoned his adamantium staff, and they started the battle. The adamantium staff is nearly indestructible and can expand infinitely. With those two abilities, he used it to push the Kyuubi back away from the village, while the other ninja were throwing jutsu after jutsu at it to try and help push it back. It was slow and rough for them, but it was working enough. They all knew they could never really kill a tailed beast. They were just manifestations of chakra given physical form. They are immortal, and if sealed into a Jinchuriki, even when that host dies, the tailed beast would die with them but reform after a couple years. Their only goal was to get the Kyuubi away from the village and hope that the Yondaime can do something. Minato vs Masked Man. The fight had been going on for a few minutes and neither one was landing anything, since the Masked Man can just become intangible, while Minato was too fast for him. Minato glanced over to the village and the battle was visible as flashes of light from jutsus and the roars of the Kyuubi could be heard. His gaze went back to the Masked Man. What an interesting position you're in. You want to go and protect the village, as is your duty as Hokage, however you can't just let me go, can you? The Masked Man said as he watched Minato looking back to the village throughout the fight. Enough of this. I'm going to have to use Hiraishin level 2, Minato thought as he ran at the Masked Man. They charged at each other, and as Minato went he threw a kunao at the Masked Man and it started to phase through his head. The Masked Man was bringing his hand up to attack Minato while Minato charged up a Rasengan. They kept charging, and just as the kunao finally went all the through and just before the Masked Man could touch Minato, he teleported to the kunao and caught it in midair, then twirled his body around and slammed the Rasengan into the Masked Man's back. The Masked Man was slammed into the ground as he couldn't react to the speed of the attack, and as he was on the ground, a Hiraishin seal was placed onto his back. He teleported to that kunao, the Masked Man thought as he felt the pain from the attack and got up to face Minato. It's time to end this, I need to get back to the village, Minato stated before he disappeared in a yellow flash and appeared directly in front of the Masked Man and slammed his hand onto the man's chest. A seal formed and glowed, then he jumped back. A contract seal, the Masked Man stated. You are no longer able to summon the Kyuubi, Minato said and teleported back to the village, leaving behind a flash of yellow. Village. The battle was raging on and the Leaf was losing many shinobi to the Kyuubi. It was an overwhelming force and there seemed to be nothing they could do. They were all starting to lose hope. Then there was a bright yellow flash and from the sky Gamabunta came crashing down, landing on the Kyuubi. Everyone cheered as the Yondaime now arrived. Lord Fourth? What's the plan? Hiruzen shouted from the ground. I'm going to teleport it away from the village. But it's going to take a little time to teleport something this big. Gamabuntai, I need you to hold it down. Minato said. He started to prepare to teleport him and the Kyuubi. It was going to take a lot of chakra and he already used a lot, teleporting the tailed beast bomb earlier, and the Hiraishin level 2 took a lot out of him, plus his fight didn't help to conserve energy. You better hurry? I can't hold him forever. Gamabuntai shouted as he was struggling to keep the Kyuubi down. After a few moments there was a flash of yellow and then Minato and the Kyuubi were both gone. He did it? He's saved us, one of the shinobi said, and all of them started to cheer. Hiruzen looked to a few Umbu and they knew it was still not over. We must find the yondaime and provide assistance however we can, he said quietly, as he didn't want to ruin the spirits of the shinobi. It was a grueling fight and they lost many. Minato and the Kyuubi. They were far away from the village but still in fire country. Minato looked and noticed that the Kyuubi still had lost the Sharingan pattern in his eyes and that currently it was still stunned at the moment. I've got to be quick. I will need Kushina to help me seal it. Naruto, I'm sorry. Minato teleported Kushina, Naruto, and also Shisui to his location. He looked to Kushina and had her set up a barrier of chakra around them and have her chakra chains wrap around the Kyuubi. These chains are indestructible and drain chakra. Nothing, not even the Kyuubi, can destroy them. They would last as long as Kushina willed them to, so long as she had chakra. Minato began preparing the ritual required. Shisui, watch over Naruto, will you? He's going to have a hard life from this point forward. Be his light in the darkness that will surround him. I will protect him with my life, uncle. Shisui said as tears started to come from his eyes. He was holding Naruto and when everything was prepared, he laid him down on the little bed that was made. Minato went through the hand seals for the Reaper summoning. The Kyuubi, seeing what was going on, didn't want to be sealed and tried to kill baby Naruto with his claw. However, both Kushina and Minato jumped in front of Hit and were stabbed through the stomach and held the claw in place. Minato finished the summoning and placed the 8 trigram seal on Naruto's stomach and with the help of the Shinigami sealed the chakra within himself before putting it into Naruto. The entire Kyuubi was put into Naruto and now the Kyuubi was gone, but now they were dying. Minato only had a few minutes until he died due to the use of the Reaper seal. Kushina had slightly longer. Is there anything you want to say to Naruto before we go? Minato asked, saddened that this would be the last time he was with Naruto. With tears and sadness but still the happiness of being a mother, there's so much. Naruto, I love you. I want you to be happy. It will be hard, I know, but don't give up. Being a Jinchuriki is something I would never want for you, as it's lonely and dark. I wish you could be in never-ending happiness and joyful of love, but it may not go that way. You'll have your older cousin Shisui and he will take care of you. You'll also have Jiraiya later on as well, but don't follow in his actions, okay? They're not appropriate and it's a shame that he is that way. Be sure to always be respectful and kind and hold those few people that like you close to your heart and never let them go. They'll be the ones to keep you in the light. There's so much I wish I could teach you and wish I could be with you. Naruto, I love you. Kushina said, crying. Minato, I'm sorry I've taken all your time. Kushina said with tears still running down her face. Minato just smiled and held her close. It's okay. Naruto, listen to your mother, and try to take it easy on Shisui, okay? Don't cause too much trouble, alright? He's really young and this will be challenging, but I know you two will be great. How can you be sure it will all be okay? Kushina said, crying. Because he is my son. Minato said with a smile. He looked to Shisui. Shisui, sorry that I'll be leaving you alone now. Please help Naruto through this incredible burden. I wish that the villagers to look to him as a hero, as without him the Kyuubi would destroy the village. Shisui nodded. He couldn't speak as he was crying. He didn't want to see them die. He always seen Minato as the most powerful shinobi ever and looked to him as if he were indestructible. Today only showed that no man is immortal. Death comes for everyone. He also learned a rather ironic thing about heroes. They're seen as people who'd always be there and can never die. However, in real life, the hero will generally always die. It's their sacrifice that makes them a hero. With one last hug with all of them together, Minato died and Kushina cried even more as the love of her life has passed away. Hiruzen with the 3 Umbu finally arrived to see Shisui holding a crying Naruto, Minato laying dead, and a barely alive Kushina. Kushina, Hiruzen said as he ran over to her. Minato sealed the Kyuubi within Naruto. Shisui is going to take care of him. Please help take care of Naruto. Minato, and I wish for Naruto to be seen as a hero for holding the Kyuubi. but if it's possible try to keep it secret until he's had time to make a couple friends at least. It's a lot to ask and I know from personal experience that it will be hard, Kushina said before going limp and dying. Of course, Kushina. I will do my best to protect Naruto for you and Minato. Hiruzen stood up and signaled the Umbu to take Kushina and Minato to the village. He walked to Shisui and rested his right hand on Shisui's left shoulder. Shisui, this will be hard. Not just for him but for you as well. I'm taking you into Umbu so that your missions are limited and you'll be one of my guards so that I can keep you in the village with Naruto. When he's old enough to take care of himself you can choose to return to Jonin status or remain Umbu, but for now it will be this way. Shisui nodded and took it all in. What of his heritage? Hiruzen looked to him and thought of it. No one can know he is the son of Minato, at least until he's strong enough to protect himself. Shisui nodded, but him being with me. Yes, we'll have to cover up the fact that you're Minato's nephew. It's good that your relationship to them was never really publicly known, as even his marriage to Kushina was secret. Hiruzen said solemnly. So much secrecy had to be done in order to keep those close to Minato safe, but now the lost goes farther. Sadly, it would make his son never know of his father or mother for a long time. Only few knew Minato was expecting a child, one being Kakashi. I believe Kakashi deserves to know. He was Uncle's student and their connection was strong, plus I know he would like to know what has happened. I know he'd help as well. Shisui said, looking at Hiruzen. Hiruzen nodded. As you wish. Is there anything you need of me? Well, where do we go? I know I can't just go to the old estate. Shisui said, looking down slightly. I'll have a house set up. For now go to the Hokage office and wait for me there. Hiruzen said, and Shisui shined away. Minato, I will do my best to make your wishes a reality. Hokage office. Shisui sat crying, holding Naruto. He lost the last family he had, but gained another. He still technically has the clan, but that wasn't the same. The Uchiha didn't even know of Naruto and also didn't know Shisui was the nephew of Minato. Fugaku had been friends with Minato after all. His wife Mikoto was best friends with Kushina, but Shisui was never around when they got together. Minato wanted to keep the secret of Shisui being his nephew from everyone since it was safer that way, and Fugaku